It depends what people would like. What's going to happen now is, that was great, but I'm going to give, if people are interested in this, this is a quick presentation, a mini presentation on particularly the relationship to the Arctic, to the jet stream, to the extreme weather. So it's putting it in the context of the extreme weather we're having. So just so that you know what is coming up, if you're interested in that, I thought we might take the opportunity to quickly do that. Yeah. So we got the thing. So that's the drought in America that we're having. That's the biggest kind of ongoing climate emergency that's affecting everything, as I'm sure you know. And linked with that, forest fires are following on. And I'm just putting everything in the context of what you might have seen, on the TV about weird weather extremes. Because these are the forest fires in Spain. These were the forest fires in 2007, I think, in Australia, in Victoria. This was Greece, you might remember 2007, but also 2009, and again this year. Do you remember the floods in Beijing a couple of months ago? The floods in Thailand, you might remember this from news clips around Christmas time. Those floods in Pakistan, but wasn't it actually 2010? Actually 2010 was the worst year, but it happened 2 years running. And this was the heat wave in 2010 in Russia, smog over the Red Square, those are the fires. That's the heat wave over Russia, July 2010. This is Niger, droughts, the Sahel, you've heard all about that. At the same time, floods and droughts in Niger. But weirdly and difficult for when you're arguing with the skeptics, of course there's funny freezing weather as well. This is an ice storm in the US. That's kind of what it looks like on the map. And of course, raining very strongly. I was going to use some different language, as you might just have noticed this summer in the UK. Exceptional rain, as you can see from that. But weirdly, at the same time, they were telling us about hosepipe bans early on because of exceptionally dry winters. And these were associated with exceptionally cold winters, which is a difficult one with the climate skeptics. Do you remember all those Daily Mail headlines? That is the very cold winter of 2009, when, as you can see, penguins were sighted in the UK. This was that very cold snap in December 2010. Do you remember that? That wrecked our climate march, actually, but well, it certainly didn't help matters. And it was exceptionally cold, so how do you explain that? You know, that's always difficult. The first thing you point out, this is a temperature anomaly map, so it's not a temperature map, it's the change from normal. And as people like Monbiot pointed out, when it was exceptionally cold in the UK and Western Europe, it was exceptionally warm in Western Greenland and Labrador over there. So when you look at the whole picture, of course, you know, you get a different impression, and it balances out. That's the first thing that I'm sure you all know that that's what you need to point out to people. But it's still a bit weird. Why is that cold weather happening? How do you explain that to people and try to tell them that the globe is warming? How do you do that? That's tricky. Well, it has to do with what has been said is that a lot of this weather has to do with the jet stream, a lot of this weird weather, and there is the jet stream for you. But what's actually happening is that the jet stream is getting both slower and therefore more sluggish. And when it gets more slow and sluggish, it means that it gets stuck in what's called a blocking pattern quite often. So instead of having a few warm, a hot week in Moscow, you have a hot month, and of course temperatures go up and up and up, and it becomes extreme weather. Or you have, a month full of rain in the UK like we've had, because the jet stream's stuck in a certain pattern, because it's slower, because there's less force in it. But at the same time as there being a slower jet stream, it's also like when a torrent comes down off the hill, it meanders more, the river, meanders. So it's also a more meandering jet stream, a slower and more meandering jet stream. And the meanders of this east-west jet stream mean more north-south movement. So colder air comes further south, and warmer air goes further north. So that's how you can get weird extremes like that cold snap in December, matched by that very warm snap in Greenland. So that's what's going on. So this is what you need to know when you're trying to explain to people why you're getting this this weird weather. It doesn't immediately, intuitively say it's global warming, climate change. Now, so why is that, whoops, why is that happening? Well, there's another picture of that, the same kind of blocking pattern. Now, a particular, so that's the heat wave in Russia in July 2010, so you see the hot air going up there. Now, at the same time, in the north, exceptionally far north meander, then exceptionally far south meander on the other side of the jet stream came cool air, moist air. That met the monsoon winds, that gave the floods in Pakistan. So both, the heat wave in Russia and the Pakistan floods were part of the same weather event, essentially, and they were to do with the behaviour of the jet stream. So that's what's been going on. And the US drought is because of something a bit like that. So with the warm air stuck there over the US. There are other factors as well. And this is the cold weather down in the UK and the hot weather going up to Greenland. That's pushing down the cyclone system, so we get lots of endless rain as we have this summer. And why is this happening? Well, this is certainly, there's some studies various studies that have been coming together, particularly from somebody called Francis, I believe, Dr. Francis from Rutgers University. But basically, it's that polar bear that's responsible for all of this. The reason why the jet stream is slower and more sluggish and more meandering is because what drives the jet stream is the temperature difference and consequently pressure difference between the Arctic air mass and the temperate air mass. It's that temperature difference which drives the jet stream. Now what we've seen, of course, is that, as Professor Wadhams pointed out, the Arctic is warming up disproportionately fast, as that another temperature anomaly map shows. It's bright, just like Professor Wadhams' slide. But so that means that it's catching up with the temperature zone, so there's less differential, so there's a weaker jet stream. So that's why these studies are saying that this weird weather is directly linked to what's happening in the Arctic. So that's really what I wanted to say, and this is, what you would have seen before. That's Professor Wadhams' thing. There's Greenland looking pretty bad, but that's what I wanted to show. Of course, this is hitting food production. That's grain-producing regions and the drought in Russia, killing the corn, and that's food riots in Mozambique in 2010 as a result after Putin's embargo on the grain. That's the drought in the US yet. We've yet to, in the US right now, we've yet to see the food price implications of that and what kind of unrest that might lead to or contribute to around the world. So that's just the point I wanted to make, that a lot of what you're hearing about in the weather, and even in the politics, even the unrest, this is to do, linked up with what's happening in the Arctic. But,
can I just add?
Yes.
People do, the skeptics say, well, this is all part of natural variability and everything like that. And they've been a bit quiet on this one, I have to know. But the best research I've seen into how much of this is man-made as opposed to natural variability